Well, thanks again for everyone to come out. We're really excited to have such a diverse board of really experienced people from the brand side, agency side, influencer side. I didn't realize Rodney was an influencer as well, it sounds like.
I'm not an influencer. I just have a following.
But I think in general, influencer marketing isn't necessarily a new thing, right? Like I think the most popularized thing that I can think of is Wheaties using Olympians on their cereal boxes, right? We can all remember that. Spokespeople were always a thing. But with social media on the rise, influencer marketing is becoming more of a common thing for people like Courtney to do as a career, as well as brands to use as a very strategic marketing tactic. So I think the first thing we want to talk about is metrics. From Rodney, we have some interesting metrics about return on ad spend. We have a 75% increase on marketing campaigns that used influencer marketing, which is pretty substantial, as well as a 2% click-through rate, which is very competitive with programmatic, even social media results. But I want to know from the brands, what do you guys really look at for success from these campaigns, and how do you argue to leadership that influencer marketing is worth it?
I mean, on the Southwest side, we don't really look at it monetarily, but we look at it more from engagement. And last year, we actually found that our influencer campaigns were helping improve our brand reputation score that we look at. So now we're kind of going to start measuring it that way, because for us, influencers are a way to build a stronger connection with our customers or people who have never flown us before. So that's very important on our end.
I would say from the Pizza Hut side, we're kind of in the same boat. We haven't really attributed influencer to sales directly at this point, though we do have plans to explore affiliate marketing this year. We have kind of two paths with our marketing efforts that we kind of call sales overnight, brand over time, and we've always used influencer as more of a brand over time tool that, like she said, is kind of building more of our reputation and kind of putting Pizza Hut in the consideration set and top of mind to new audiences that we're not reaching on our social channels.
Yeah, so kind of more of like an awareness tactic, really. Mm-hmm. Auburn, what about you guys? I mean, you really have to sell this into your clients. What do you guys look for at performance metrics?
You know, it's interesting. Influencer has really started to shift, especially even over the past couple years, into more of a performance-based program. We're actually seeing it for all of our clients as being more of a full funnel approach. So, you know, there is that awareness play. If you're just looking for eyeballs, it's very effective. But also, if you're trying to get conversion, you can do that too. You just need to be using the right channel and the right approaches to it. We like to say it takes about 6 or 7 different times for someone who's actually a follower to see those or to actually convert on influencer. So we really recommend ambassador programs. You know, like Lauren was saying, affiliate programs are really effective as well. So being able to drive that conversion, but it's really a full funnel approach for our brands to start from that awareness and kind of drive it all the way down the marketing funnel.
So do you guys typically make deals where you have, you know, multiple posts versus one kind of larger mega influencer post? Does that seem to work a lot better for you guys?
Yeah, it just kind of depends on what that KPI goal is. You know, we do see a lot of success with those large influencers, but we're also seeing a ton of success with nano and micros because their engagement rate is so high. And so those followers are a lot more engaged in kind of what they're doing. They trust the influencer a little bit more as well. So it just kind of depends. If you're looking for those eyeballs, you're gonna get a good set of eyeballs with that big awareness piece with a larger influencer. But if you're really looking for conversion, those nano and micros actually might be doing more for you. And then whole other topic we can talk about is also branded content ads. So utilizing that influencer content and utilizing the influencers' actual posts themselves in paid media to drive conversion even more.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to go off what you said about the nano and the micro influencer. If you guys don't know, I started as a nano, so that's pretty much someone that has under 1,000 followers, and those are really important. And I really invested when I had a little following, is because you really want to draw that audience in, make them trust you, because they will shop, when they trust what they are buying from you. So I always keep my, stuff very authentic and very on brand for me. So as I've continued to grow, those people have grown with me, and I've actually, really gotten into to know it. And so if I post a piece of clothing or a product, people are like, okay, she really likes that. I'm going to click on it. So when I'm working with brands too, like you guys were saying with affiliate marketing, I always make sure to ask for that promo code, or like people will like, it's like Stens 50 for $50 off. I always ask for that because if brands aren't really asking for that, I use it to my, advantage when brands are like, hey, what can you do for me? And I'm like, well, I actually had, 273 uses for a Ride Alto. People are really liking that new rideshare platform. So it's a way for me to kind of, showcase my talent, because if they're not asking for those numbers, you at least have them to provide. So if you guys are ever going to work with influencers, definitely, try to set them up a code. Sometimes they do a bounce back to where, like, I have one with the Rangers and I'm given like 25% of each ticket sale. So that really motivates me to also post it, because I'm making money and it's, a very authentic way to make money. I love the Rangers. I'm posting, and if I'm posting more, hopefully, you get more in return. So I really strongly would say to definitely make those codes for the people you work with.
Thanks
Yeah.
for the Ride Alto discount.
And
Yeah,
ahead.
I just wanted to say, so trackable sales are really important, particularly for retail, but we work with, giant cosmetic companies and other folks where they're looking at brand consideration, brand lift, and Creator is like, it's killing everything. Literally, you compare it to ads, which we don't want ads to go away, but just the performance is so much better, particularly with Gen Z and millennials. And they're looking, our clients are looking at those metrics all the time. The other interesting thing is, when I'm calling it Creator, when influencers started, it was online and it was about online sales, and COVID happened. It's driving people in store, like massive numbers, and now we're working with all of our giant retail customers on in-store as well. So that's just a big component.
The last thing I'll say really fast about measurement is there are some squishy things that I feel like come with working with influencers, and I can't remember who said, but building brand advocates. Like, sometimes we at Pizza Hut will invest money in upfront knowing it's going to build a really strong relationship with an influencer, and we might not get something right away, but say it's merch or swag or sending them to the Final Four, it's building a stronger relationship with them to make them, genuinely and authentically love Pizza Hut, to the point where they're posting content time and time and time again that's not contracted, but that's showing swag, or that has, they decided to order Pizza Hut and have it be a part of whatever their content that they're making. So upfront investment that kind of pays off later, and it's a little harder to measure, but really valuable.
Yeah.
And I can...
Sorry, just a quick build, I'm sorry. Part of that strategy is either always on or supporting the creators, because the organic posts you get are 2 to 3x what you pay for.
Yeah, and speaking to that, if anybody doesn't know, Southwest had kind of some issues over the holidays.
What?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard, but we had one of our influencer partners that we worked with for years reach out to us, and he was like, hey, the New York Times reached out to us about like everything that was going on. And we're very like hands off, like we're not gonna force you to say anything, like, we want you to speak to the experience you have with the brand. And we got so lucky that it ended up being an article of like influencers that we've worked with in the past couple of years, just speaking praises of how they were just hoping we would make it through and stuff. So it did end up, all those little relationship building things that we've done, from sending them swag or just having campaigns with them or just keeping in touch and throwing a couple things their way, really paid off in the end. And that was very apparent during that whole crazy situation for us.
Yeah, thanks for the 25,000 bonus points for that too.
You're welcome, you're welcome. That was all my idea, guys.
I will say really fast, going off of that, I think every brand partnership that I've gotten has actually been me posting them a lot. Like, I love Ride Alto, I love the Rangers, love the Mavs. And I just post about them all the time just because I wanted to keep my brand super authentic, relatable. And, I was like, okay, it'll pay off in the end. And it luckily has, where they have noticed that I like them and I genuinely continue to post about them. So if you are out there looking for people to represent your company, look at those people that genuinely love your brand, because they will be there, through thick and thin. And you don't really have to tell them what to say because they love you a lot. So just really not only looking at the follower count, but the people that really like you, because they'll stick with you through anything.
Yeah, and I've known Courtney and been following Courtney for a really long time, and I want to say this is maybe a couple years ago, you maybe had 10,000 followers, but you had posted your analytics and it was like 1.5 million views in the past week. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I was very blown away by how impactful that was. I'd like to hear, before we move on to the next topic, from Auburn and Rodney, if people are kind of gravitating towards that nano micro influencer from a brand level too, that are kind of looking to you for the expert advice.
Yeah, I can go first. You know, like I said earlier, I think nano and micro is really where it's at right now. They're the most cost effective as well. You know, that mid-tier, we're kind of seeing with the creator economy shift also being a little bit more expensive. They, sorry, Courtney, you know, we also very much support creators too, but, you know, from the brand side, we have to get the most bang for our buck. And so we're really seeing, you know, that those micro and nanos are really cost effective because they're also just very eager to work with brands. Seeding campaigns work in that effect where you can get them into your full funnel. So yeah, I think, you know, we're seeing that, and then we're also seeing that engagement rate being extremely high. So if you kind of want to dabble your feet in it, like get your feet wet, micro and nano is a really good way to start with a lower budget. You know, some of our clients do have that huge budget, so those macros really work for them, or those mega celebrities really make an impact if something goes viral. So it's just kind of, what's your budget? What are you trying to achieve from that entire campaign? And then looking for those authentic creators. That is really the key. Your campaign is going to be only as successful as the creators you put into the campaign. So no matter what tier they are, make sure, to Courtney's point, that they're authentic and they truly like your brand.
Yeah, I'd say LTK is a little bit different. So we have curated creators. They can't just be we don't go to the universe of creators. We just have the ones that are on our platform. And they actually run their businesses on our platform. But what we found with those creators who are highly effective and they've been filtered, their followers are like the farm club of creators. They're like you were before you were a creator. And so the amplification is huge. And it doesn't matter if they have 5,000 followers or they have 100,000. If you're getting up in the, you know, we work with creators that have millions of followers. That's like working with a celebrity. They have agents. That's not really, you know, that's for like a national television campaign where you want to put a creator in it almost. But for the most part, you can be effective with any size. It's really about engagement. So I would agree, you know, with what Aspire said there.
Going off the money thing as well, so I actually didn't really start charging until I was like, okay, I'm gonna make this full time. I have to make some money here. But I really value the brands that are like, hey, we don't have a big budget, can you do X? And I always say I'm very flexible, and it doesn't hurt to ask because, you know, say it's a big brand and I really like them, you know, I will take a lower pay cut just because you want to stay competitive as well. And if everyone's charging the same rate, it could be like, hey, you know what? I love you guys. I would be honored to work with you. I'll do it for whatever rate, because I do understand too that when you're planning your budget, like last year, the year before, people above you may not really get the whole influencer thing. And so they're like, okay, I'm not giving you a budget for that. Like, what do you mean influencer marketing? So I also, coming from the corporate side, I was at Dave & Buster's and Brinker before. I've seen both sides, and I really know that sometimes, you know, you don't have the people that love social media working above you, or you might not be fully sold. So just always asking and being, you know, flexible. And I always tell brands I'm super flexible as well, just because I really honor that they asked me to work with them.
Courtney, you're our favorite type of influencer.
Okay, great. That's great. Really good information talking about performance. I do want to talk about kind of the processes of working with an influencer. I think there's some roadblocks that brands find very intimidating when it comes to working with an influencer. You know, how do you approve posts? How do you pick an influencer? How do you kind of open that line of communication? So maybe from brand side first, and we can go into agency and kind of see how you guys handle that. And obviously every person is different, so if there's any issues or backlash that you guys typically see.
I mean, for us, and maybe other companies can relate, our biggest roadblock is our legal team. But I always try and be very upfront and open with our influencers and be like, hey, just so you know, our legal team is a little intense, so we might have to, you know, add a couple extra disclaimers and stuff. But I personally, our influencer program, even though we are a large company, we're still very small and still kind of growing. So we only work with like maybe tops 25, 50 if we're sending like, mailer boxes out, but I kind of manage that with another person, and we're very one-to-one, just having conversations. I think it's also kind of difficult when influencers have agents, because sometimes like we've had experiences where an influencer is like, you know what, I'm gonna push my agent out of here and I'm just gonna handle it myself, because I think sometimes there's just some miscommunication if an influencer really wants to work with us and the agent is kind of like, in our way of certain things. But I just try and be open and honest with our influencers, and for us, like I said, we're very open. Like, we want to give creative freedom. Obviously, there's still some requirements of like, mentioning the brand, tagging, all that, but we're just pretty open and honest and having a two-way communication with influencers.
Retweet on the legal thing. Somehow we have gotten legal to like loosen their grip a little bit on what we're doing with influencer. It's an uphill battle every day though. I would echo everything you said. I think that, going back to what Courtney said, I think we first, when we're selecting influencers, we always look at like who is naturally loving our brand. Gen Z and the younger audiences that we're all going after can see through if something is fake, something is pay to play. Like, that's not the business that we're in anymore with influencer. And I have to give huge credit. I'm really lucky to have an agency that I really trust called RQ. They're out of LA. And they're completely in the business of relationships. So like what you're saying about if you get stuck with someone's agent, like most of the time when we're talking to someone, it's because they have some sort of connection with someone on their team or the person individually. And so it always helps when you have a real relationship with someone. They're more apt to want to work with you. So I think those are a few of the things that I would say. The other thing that you mentioned, which it has become so important in the work that we're doing at Pizza Hut, is letting influencers do what they do best. I come from working in social, and it has gotten a lot better, but before we really had a tight grip on every single thing that we were posting on paid and organic channels, and I feel like it's been really interesting to like pry our fingers off of that from an influencer perspective, and like the reason we want to work with them is because they do cool shit. Like, let them do it. So our team has like also had an uphill battle of like getting comfortable with people doing what they do best, giving them a few guidelines, but at the end of the day, letting them tell the story how they want to tell it.
Rodney, on your end, I know you've worked with many influencers in your time, I would think. Is there a secret sauce to kind of what you guys ask when you approach them? Is there a certain amount of revisions that you find is the sweet spot, as much as creative direction? What do you think there?
Yeah, I worked with influencers before LTK, so it was like what you guys are describing. LTK is just this isn't a commercial. It's just different because it's filtered. So all agreements, we work on macro scale with like Walmart, people like that. So everything's already predispositioned and already vetted, so there's none of that. They don't have to deal with it. And then we look at performance, and we look at categories, and we look within our shopping app. We can see how they trend when they post something, how people engage. We have so much data and metrics on them. It's just a different kind of buy. But we continuously bring in new creators to our customers. We're like, you don't want to keep using the same ones. You want to use them, but you want to grow it. Like, you need a larger pool and continue that, because over time, I'll give you an example. We work with a large, it's a well-known insulated cup, and it's not Yeti, it's another one. We actually work with Yeti too, but anyway, it's the other one. And so people were complaining that they're seeing too much of this cup, and we said, they're not paying us that much. They just gave us a little bit of money. This is all organic. We don't even have control of that. Our creators are out of control because they love this product. So go talk to them. They have a great product. But if we just try to help them find the right creators to really set it off and amplify it. When they're successful, then we're successful. So we're never about like, you need to buy this creator because we'll make more money. I think Aspire is that way too. They're trying to get optimization, and it's really just a launch pad for you to get that lift at the beginning, and then stay with those people over time, but keep building that, and you'll just grow exponentially.
I may or may not have that cup next to my chair too. But, Courtney, from your end, what is something that you would kind of draw the line when it comes to creative revisions or something that a brand's asking for? Where do you say, okay, that's no longer my brand, I can't make that change, I'm gonna put my foot down?
That's actually happened to me before, but I had already signed the contract. So it's definitely asking those questions up front, like, hey, if you want me to have a specific caption, I might not work with you just because it's not my language anymore. And then if they're doing a campaign, it was like a 10-day giveaway, and every single person posting had the exact same caption. And I was just like, this isn't really authentic to me. So it's really just finding people you trust, maybe watching them on social media to see what their language is, how they speak to their audience, and being like, okay, like I really trust them to do it. And I mean, for me, I will always send the caption even if they don't ask for it, because they're also having to present that post to their higher ups. So I want it, whatever they're trying to accomplish, they can also accomplish it, by investing in me. So it's really just finding those people that you trust.